You know how it is, every single year we get this flood of iPhone leaks. But honestly, this time it just feels different. The rumors that are swirling around the iPhone 18 Pro, they're not just about a faster chip or a slightly better camera. Nope, they're pointing to what could be the final chapter in a design story that has pretty much defined Apple for the last decade. So let's break down what this all means.
So let's just kick things off with a wild thought, right? What if this next iPhone, the one we're all talking about, what if it's the very last of its kind? The final perfected version of a design we all know so well, right before Apple decides to change everything.
Okay, so this whole design dynasty, right? It kicked off way back in 2017 with the iPhone X and its, infamous notch. Then it evolved with the sharp, flat edges of the 12 Pro, and it morphed again into the dynamic island on the 14 Pro. And since then, it's just been getting refined. The iPhone 18 Pro, which should be coming in 2026, really could be the absolute final form of this entire era.
All right, let's dig into the juicy details, starting with the biggest visual change. For 4 years now, the dynamic island has just sat there. It's been this untouchable thing at the top of the iPhone screen. I mean, competitors have launched generation after generation of new tech, but the island stayed exactly the same. Well, that's all about to change.
I mean, just look at this. The rumor difference is pretty wild, right? We're going from what the source calls a wide, commanding presence to something that looks, well, almost delicate. It's a narrow little sliver instead of that big, bold pill. This is the first time its size has changed in any meaningful way since it first appeared. And here's the kicker, the raw number. Leaks are suggesting the on-screen width of the dynamic island is shrinking by about 35%. That's a massive difference. You are absolutely going to notice that every single time you pick up your phone.
So you're probably wondering, how on earth are they pulling this off? Well, it's actually a pretty clever bit of engineering. The secret sauce is moving one of the main Face ID parts, the flood illuminator, completely under the display. That leaves only two physical sensors that actually need a cutout, which lets Apple shrink that whole on-screen footprint a lot.
Okay, but it's not all just about what's on the screen. Apple's apparently making a really bold, and I gotta say, maybe controversial move with their colors for the Pro phones. And look, for a lot of us, this is a huge deal. If these leaks are right, this will be the second year in a row with no black or space gray option for the iPhone Pro. The classic, understated, go-to color for so many people is just, poof, gone. So what are they replacing it with? Something totally out of left field. The reports are all pointing to a new deep red finish, and they're describing it as being closer to a burgundy. It's a huge shift away from those conservative metallic colors we're used to, and maybe it's a sign Apple is rethinking who the Pro user even is, moving from just functional colors to something a bit more expressive. But come on, you know an iPhone update isn't just about a pretty new color. Under the hood, the iPhone 18 Pro is rumored to be getting one of the biggest performance and efficiency upgrades we've seen in years. The absolute star of the show here is the new A20 Pro chip. It's supposedly built on a new 2nm process, which should make it about 15% faster. But honestly, the really exciting number is that second one, a massive 30% jump in power efficiency. That means you get more horsepower while using way less battery. That's the dream, right? And you know what goes great with this super efficient chip? A giant battery. The leaks suggest the iPhone 18 Pro Max is going to have a battery capacity up to 5,200 milliamp hours. That would be the biggest battery ever in an iPhone, by far. Okay, so you take that crazy efficient chip, you pair it with that massive battery. What does that actually mean for you in the real world? Well, it could lead to an incredible 40 hours of mixed use on just one charge. For heavy users, that is an absolute game changer. And to top it all off, we've got the other goodies inside. We're expecting a jump to 12 gigs of RAM across the whole lineup. And, this is important, Apple's very first in-house 5G modem. Now, that is a huge deal. It means they finally break their reliance on Qualcomm, and they get total control over performance, efficiency, new features, not to mention they save a ton of money. So look, when you step back and you put all these pieces together, the smaller island, the bold new look, the massive power boast, you start to realize this phone is more than just another yearly update. It really feels like the symbolic end of a whole era for Apple. And to really get why this is such a big deal, we gotta talk about something called design language. It sounds kind of fancy, but it's simple. It's just the set of rules that makes a product instantly recognizable. For the modern iPhone, that's been the screen cutout, the flat metal sides, and that iconic camera bump.
The iPhone 18 Pro feels like the final perfect version of that language.
Yeah, one source absolutely nailed it when they called this phone the final iteration of a design language that has defined the modern iPhone for nearly a decade. It's the grand finale, the culmination of everything that started all the way back with the iPhone X. So, why is everyone so sure this is the end of the road? Well, it's all about the calendar. 2027. That's the 20th anniversary of the original iPhone, and everybody expects a radical, ground-up overhaul for that. And that context is what makes the iPhone 18 Pro feel like the grand finale before the next big show begins. So that's the big question we're left with, right? Is the iPhone 18 Pro the ultimate, perfected version of a classic design that we've all come to know and love? Or is it just a placeholder, the last beautiful step on an old path before Apple starts a completely new journey? I guess we're going to find out soon enough.